Woke up this morning, feeling the vibe, got my headphones on, ready to thrive. Voices in my ear, lifting me high, upward bound podcast, reaching for the sky. Lessons learned from the deep and wise, personal growth like a sweet surprise. Tune in, turn it up, feel the spark, igniting the fire, lighting the dark.
Welcome to the Upward Bound podcast, where real conversations lead to real growth.
We're here to help you level up in your life, your leadership, and your future.
With practical insights, honest conversations, and tools you can actually start applying today.
I am Ernie of Confidently.
I'm Jeff Williamson.
And I'm Len McIntosh. And this is the Upward Bound podcast. Let's go.
I love it. And if you've been feeling stuck, ready for more, or know you're capable of your next level,
you're in the right place. So let's get right to it.
Awesome. So the Upward Bound podcast, as we have been announcing for the past few days, this is our very first episode, and this is our launch. Are we excited, gents? Are we excited?
Come on, let's go.
I've been up all night in anticipation. I couldn't wait for this moment.
Who needs sleep?
Come on.
I do. I'm a woman. I needed sleep.
Beauty sleep, that's right.
Yes, I need beauty sleep. But what is Upward Bound podcast? What are we about? Jeff, do you mind sharing that, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the idea that we learn from, just all those mistakes that we make, and we pay attention to other people. And, I'm kind of one of those guys that will just sit in the back and I'll just really kind of pay attention. And I want to, just really glean off of, the right ways of doing things that are kind of furthering the needle. So we just thought it'd be a great way to have a practical conversation, really informal, granular, just where we can kind of talk about, different things here. We're going to go through books and just relative conversation topics, but we're just excited to be able to share that with you. What do you think, Len?
Hey, listen, we are here not as professionals or as perfectionists, but as people who are learning as we grow. And so this is a professional and leadership podcast, just trying to add value to people and help people get to that next destination. My mantra and our mantra is transforming the world one life at a time. And that starts with one individual. And so that's what we're here to do.
Well, I mean, Ernie's a professional, though, isn't she?
Yeah.
I can pretend that I am professional, but I'm just here to have fun with you, gents.
That's right.
Obviously. So I love what we said, right? We're just regular people. We can actually call ourselves as practitioners.
That's
practitioners to a point wherein we learn something and then we apply the knowledge. And our mentor, Mr. Chris Robinson, says, learn a little, do a little. This is how we are able to add value to other people. And today's value that we are going to talk about is our favorite. Len mentioned that this is about leadership, professional, and growth. So we're going to be talking about leadership itself. And it's about good leadership versus bad leadership. Can someone start with, actually, I want to start with a bad leadership. What does it look like, gents? Jeff, go for it.
I mean, thankfully I've been blessed with so many good leaders in my life, just people that have really helped move the needle, in my career and in my journey. But there have been a few stinkers along the way, I'll say. And, one of the things that I found is with some bad leadership, it's just this control mechanism. The trust isn't there. And they just really have this micromanaging way, where they have to kind of really pay attention to every single thing that you're doing. I had a leader that would check in on me. I would probably get 10, 15, maybe even 20 emails a day, phone calls, texts, just different things saying, hey, what are you doing? Well, I'm trying to still respond to the last email that you had sent me to, and I can't really apply any of this because I'm still, doing all this paperwork here. Give me some freedom. Let me actually try to do some of these things. And it just, you feel incapacitated, that you don't have that ability just to shine.
Mm-hmm. Mr. McIntosh, what's
Yeah.
your example of bad leadership?
Inherent in leadership is what we call the power differential. So people, those leaders that I've worked for that have kind of exercised that power and do what I say, not what I do type leaders, it's been really tough to navigate over my time in the workplace and different organizations. And so those people that you can't even have a conversation with because I'm up here and you're down here and we don't have anything to do with each other, right? It's just directives coming out of the C-suite somewhere, and there's no opportunity to lend your voice or to contribute in some of the directions that things have gone.
I do agree, and I'm gonna be transparent. I was one of those bad leaders when I first started because what we don't know, obviously we don't know it, right? I was one of those people that, I have the managerial position, so what I say goes, and you will follow me regardless if you agree with it or not. And I'm sure a lot of our audience or listeners can attest to this because this is very common in our community professionally today. So lack of trust because of the fact that so when we say lack of trust, like, does that also reflect on the leader? When they're not trusting you to do the job? Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm actually in Recovering Bad Leaders Anonymous as well. And it's because I emulated and I just replicated what I saw. And I thought that was the way to move the needle. I saw people in an organization that, 20 and 30 emails and all these phone calls and all these checkpoints and all that was the right way of doing things. So a lot of times you just kind of showcase the behaviors that you're seeing, right or wrong. And that's just kind of the direction that you that's a path that you take. So in terms of just kind of, what we think we're doing, we actually might even think this is a good thing that I'm doing. I'm actually taking the whole project by storm, and I'm doing all these great things. A lot of I statements, I, me. And, it's when you kind of slow down and you do that 20,000 foot view checkpoint and you're just like, wow, I've really missed the mark.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The poor leader and the trust thing is that psychological safety, right? Are my mistakes going to be held against me? Can I trust you, like, to be authentically me? And so that trust can be easily built, but it can also be easily broken, right? If you're not willing to work with me, if you're not willing to coach me, if you're not willing to help me do better, and it's always like your finger is on me, and I've had leaders like that, especially coming from the military, coming from different backgrounds, where it's just like driving, and we never pull over to really kind of check in to see, like, one of the questions that recently was a question for leaders to ask is, what is it like on the other side of my leadership?
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
What is it like to work for me? What is it? And there's a vulnerability that comes with that, the transparency, that you've got to be okay with that. And so bad leaders don't ask that question.
I was just going to say, bad leaders won't ask that because there, like you said, there is a spot of vulnerability, but there's also a level of adaptation where if I say, listen, Len, when you send me these emails, or when you're always calling and when you're always doing, and Len's an incredible leader, by the way, but if these things are happening, you're I can't do what you're actually asking me to do. So you're exactly right. I mean, if we actually, I think that's a great opportunity, ask that question so that trust is established or even strengthened. What do you think, Ernie?
And that's actually a great segue of lack of accountability, right? So when we don't trust others and we say, oh, it's not my fault, and we're blaming other people, that also shows us bad leadership, right? Again, we don't know what we don't know. Hence, we're teaching these things. We're giving you examples of what bad leadership looks like. And the reason for it is for us to lead more effectively. Because in the workplace, gentlemen, wouldn't you agree that a lot of people don't lead their job? They lead their bosses, their leaders, right? So any examples of lack of accountability on your end, gents?
Yeah, one of the things that I've realized over the years is the higher that you go in the organization, the less people have access to you as far as that accountability. And leaders can often get, and I've seen this quite often, they get yes people around them, right?
That's right.
They don't want people that oppose what they're saying, what they're doing and things. And so, you have to be intentional about putting people in your circle that may not see things the same way. Craig Rochelle talked about, he's like, hey, I'm a 58-year-old guy. And so when I'm leading by preferences, when I'm leading by my taste, I mean, it's going to be a totally different direction than a millennial or somebody else. And so, when you don't have those opposing views in your circle, with respect, of course, and we don't have people that are, that are going to give you different perspectives, and you're afraid to put people in your circle, it can be tough. So,
yeah, I mean, and it kind of hearing some of this reminds me of the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, and it's the idea that you want to have the right people on the right seat on the bus. A lot of times we'll have the right people on the bus, but I am not meant to drive the bus. I promise you that, and both my co-hosts know that. So I'm the creative. I'm the one that comes up with the ideas, and that's great. And they help me land my plane because I'm always thinking, hey, have we thought about? And they're like, that's great. But that seat is over here. We need somebody to do that. But that's where that goes. But when from an accountability standpoint, it also kind of comes in where we're having a hard time having hard conversations with people, and we don't want to necessarily, say, well, this is tough, and I want to kind of have a conversation. I think we could probably move the needle or move your seat from over here to over here because I think you could be better utilized in this space. But sometimes it's just that just area of fear that can come in here. It's like, well, Ernie, I just don't want to, say something that's going to be that hard. What do you think about that?
Yes, and a lot of relationships are like that too, right?
Yeah.
It's not just leadership as well. It's more so of, I just don't want to hurt the other person's feelings.
That's right.
It's true.
Right. So that's why we become yes people, or sometimes we people please, which is not helping each other at the same time. So again, that's lack of accountability in a sense of being able to communicate effectively to a point where it is professional. There's no hard feelings, and coming into a point wherein for both of us to grow, not to attack. It's more so of, okay, I'm letting you know that this is my observation. So how can we go from here? And a lot of times at the very beginning, when to be transparent, it's like when the numbers are not showing as positive, who's the first people that you're going to blame? Not yourself, right? It's like, oh, my team is not doing great. This Susie Q is always late and not doing their job. So it's a completely different dynamic of leadership that we're going to talk about. But so that's the negative leadership or the bad leadership. Now, before we dive into the positive leadership, I wanted to ask you, gents, when you hear the word leadership, is it just leading other people, or is there other avenue of leadership in itself?
Well, I think that, in terms of bad leadership, that's management, that's title, that's going after what Jeff had done. I had a very heavy business card. I thought I was something real special because of what my title was and what that little white piece of paper had said. But I was an excellent manager, but a leader is one that inspires. It's one that gets into hard conversations sometimes, but tries to do it for the betterment of that person. It's one that serves well. It's one that says, I really appreciate and I value you. I want to try to add more value to you so that we can then add value to others. So that's how I'm going to try to lead you so that you can become an even better leader than I am at one point in time, and then have a positive ripple effect onto others. So you can then inspire other people. You can build more trust, break down those silo mentalities of this is all about me, all about mine. How can I get mine? That's not leadership. So to be a leader, it's somebody that inspires.
Yeah.
What do you think, Len?
That's good. Yeah, I just think relationships just keep like echoing in my mind, that just really at the foundation is having that relationship. I mean, showing the empathy, showing the true care. I mean, so often, one of my employees is going through a tough situation, just lost her stepdad and some different things. And so before I even go into the business that we're in, I want, like, how are you doing? No, how are you really doing? Like,
that's right.
Where can I really come in and support you during the season? And so leaders like love their people. They love, and I like what John Maxwell says, that he's like, listen, he's encountered people at restaurants and out and about, and he says, Mr. Maxwell, I work for you. No, you don't work for me, son. Let's sit down. Actually, I work for you, and right. We work together. And as a matter of fact, do you need my cell phone number? Because if you need anything, please feel free to call me. So that's where you kind of, see true leadership happening.
That's good. That's good.
And I wanted to share to our listeners something that all three of us did genuinely just actually last Monday. So we said earlier, having, serious conversations. Bad leadership is not having the opportunity to sit down and communicate with each other. All three of us sat down last Monday to prepare for this launch, this podcast. And you two asked me a very profound question that I love and appreciate, and which is, how can we support you? Yeah. That question in itself is valuable, because to someone who would be asked that question, like me personally, I felt seen and valued. Any thoughts or addition to that? I will call on Jeff on this.
Well, let's just say, call like it is here, to have a great podcast and to grow in our relationship together, we have to break down barriers, and we have to figure out, what makes you tick and how we can best support you, because there's going to be a time where you're going to need to support me, and it's not that it's not a manipulative, but it's one of those things that if I want to love on Ernie and love on Len well here, I need to show my best self, and I need to be there for them when, they have a need, or when there's something that's there. So it is having those hard conversations that, it's, we don't necessarily love to say, hey, this might be a little sticky situation here, but, how can I help support you in this matter or this matter? Because I don't want it to come back up later, and we're just like, oh, I guess we probably should have brought that up a long time ago. But just, let's kind of get these things out and here in the open, be open books with one another, and truly lead well.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things, we're new, right? There's a level of intimacy coming into a podcast and sharing our lives at this level. And so we wanted to really define some clear expectations, right? All of us have had a past. We've had broken relationships. We've had things that have happened. And so setting those expectations, like, hey, listen, I really value this, or I really value that, and just really understanding each other so that we can be working a more collaborative fashion. And then as we continue to grow together, understanding, like, what are your values? you're from the Philippines. I'm from California. Jeff, you're in the Midwest, right? And so, culture also plays into it, right? I'm married to a Filipina, and one of the big things is respect, and even like turning down food as in a Filipino household is like a sign of disrespect. And so understanding who we are as we come into this, and the initial thing is like, hey, if there's somebody, if you step on my toe, if I step on your toe, counted to my head, not my heart, right? That I just didn't know any better. So,
I just wanted to add to that here. I really can't think of a time where I turned food down. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Amen.
I'm an eater. Let's go.
Yeah. Yes, I'm the same way here. If you say food, I'm down. Like sign me up. You had me at food.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yes, but part of building great relationship as well is consistency.
Yeah.
Starting with consistency is something that builds integrity in a way. But when we say that, okay, consistency, what does that look like when it comes to leadership or leading others? For me, what I have done in my leadership journey is just show up, right? Showing up sometimes tells them that you're there to support, regardless of how hard situations are. One perfect example as what I have done, and I'm sharing this experience, is I was transitioning out of my full-time job and there's no one there to replace me. Not bragging about it, but when that time comes, it shows uncertainty within your team. So you had the opportunity to move on or just stay. And in that moment, showing up was the right decision for me at that time, because it showed that I'm not leaving them hanging.
Yeah.
And that's always, that's always what's going to bring up the morale in the workplace. What about you, Len? What is the example of consistency that you have shown in your leadership?
Can we have a true confessional real quick?
Yes, this is us.
Yeah, I used to be that habitually late guy. I mean, I got to the point where my doctor's office was like, hey, you can only have this appointment time because every single time you are late. And so now
15 minutes is your 15 minutes is yours.
You have a small window.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just being where I say I'm going to be and when I say I'm going to be there, but not only showing up on time, but showing up ready. Like, I'm not on my cell phone when I'm talking to you. Like, we're making eye contact, and that you know that I'm in the moment is so important as I show up. That goes back to what we first started with about building the trust, building some of those things is the consistency. It all kind of cascades on top of each other. Yeah,
that's so good. I mean, because I can remember times where I was on the other side of the consistency, where I was waiting for somebody to show up. And, you're kind of like, what's going on, and this is, you call or you page back in the day, or you try to get them on the phone, and we're that old. We're
aging ourselves.
100%. But you try to get somebody back, like, is this happening today? Oh no, I forgot because the thing with the time you're like, oh, okay, that's great. But what I like about consistency and what I try to emulate here, and this is, it's to talk about it seems braggadocious, but if I'm going to have some consistency in what I say and what I do, but also have integrity, you got to, show that you're going to be there for somebody, but do it well. Like Len had said, I'm going to give all that I have, and I'm going to do it in such a way that's going to, potentially really encourage other people to showcase and show up in the same moments that I am. So they, again, can have that ripple effect. Again, going back to good to great, Jim Collins talks about just those level 5 leaders. Those are the people that are very rare space. And in one of my books, I actually had acknowledgments for 3 people that I had in my life that really showcased. They were always there. I can call any one of the 3 people and they'll answer the phone just like that. And I only work for one of those guys now, but I mean, the other 2 that it's been more than a decade, and I could call them and they would, be there in a moment's notice. And it's crazy to me that, across different states and different things like this. And, and that's what I want to grow into that kind of thing. And that's super inspiring. And it's what, causes me to want to lead better, continue to ask questions, read books, watch podcasts, be able to be in a space where I can grow myself so I can, love on people well and to be able to serve them well. So it actually matters.
Yes. And we just talked about bad leadership and then good leadership. What I wanted to showcase right now is how can we apply that? Because leadership is not just leading others, right? It's also leading ourselves.
That's right.
What is, I'm going to put you gents on the spot. What is that pivotal moment when you realize the difference between bad leadership and good leadership in your experience?
I'll jump. I'll let Len think on this here. Bad leadership is when I'm starting to think about how I'm going to be impacted. If I'm worried about what's going to happen in my life or my schedule, yes, we still need to be good and not say yes to too many things, because then you don't know. It's like, what does the song say? If you say yes to everything, you'll fall for anything or whatever. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but yeah, you can. That's good. I'm one of the best people at butchering music lines and things like that. That's fine.
And you're the musician in the group.
I know. Yeah, pay no attention to my bass guitar behind me. But at the same time, good leadership is, how can I help you out? How can I lift you up? How can I, showcase how I've been blessed so I can help you move your needle? And it's others centric versus self centric. If I can bless you, do something here, it's not that I'm looking for something in response or get mine, but it's like, if I can bless enough people here, that's where my value and where I start to feel inspired and feel good about what, how I've ever shown up here. What do you think, Len?
Yeah, I just, good leadership and just good humanity is doing something for somebody that can't do anything back for you in return.
That's right.
Yes.
Getting out of the quid pro quo and just really being a sacrificial giver. I mean,
isn't one of your favorite lines is Bridging That Gap, isn't that?
Oh, right? Yeah, Bridging the Gap.
Come on now.
A nonprofit, and like I said, we're transforming the world one life at a time.
That's right.
And we're just trying to help people get from where they are today to where they want to be. And that's what this podcast is about. That's what our lives are dedicated to, is helping people bridge gaps wherever that might be.
That's good. That's good.
Yes, for sure. So just to recap, we talked about bad leadership where, there's a lack of accountability, there's lack of trust. And now we talked about good leadership, which is having that servant mindset.
Yeah.
Investing in others and not thinking them as a competition.
That's right.
And then consistency and integrity. And one of the things that I've learned, I'm sure we've all learned from, the teachings that we learned from Papa John, and I'm sure he's not the one who actually had the original idea, was if you want to go fast, go alone. Sure. But if you want to go far, go together. And that's really what leadership for me is all about, is bringing people with you. And they say it's lonely at the top. It's only lonely if you didn't bring people with you, right?
Yeah.
Any last teachings, gents, on good leadership and bad leadership?
That's so good. If sure, I can have all this information and I can do all these things and I could have achieved all these degrees and all this knowledge, but if you don't impart it, or even pay attention to other people, to try to, still speak into you, it's just lonely. I just think that you're just in this, sit there on the couch and you're saying, in my opinion, I'm at my pinnacle. I'm at my peak here. I have nothing else to either give or to receive. And that's like levels of arrogance even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And final thought is, people, as a good leader, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Ooh, come on.
I live
Say that again.
Yes. Expand on that, Mr. McIntosh.
People just don't know. Listen, I can have all the knowledge in the world. I can have all the initials behind my name and books behind me and everything. But listen, when the rubber meets the road, like, do you really care for me? Are you really here to help me? Or are you just here to meet the key performance indicators or sell a product or whatever? Like, do you really care for me? Like, when I'm down, and I really call you in the middle of the night, and people are looking for people who are not going to give up on them, and people are looking for people that are going to believe in them.
That's right.
I love this. This is our episode, the launch of the Upward Bound podcast. And to our listeners, if this episode helped you, don't just listen, use it.
Take one idea and act on it this week. Share with somebody who needs it and subscribe to keep leveling up.
Until next time, keep rising, keep leading, and keep moving your life forward.
Yes.
Woke up this morning, feeling the vibe, got my headphones on, ready to thrive. Voices in my ear, lifting me high, upward bound, put tasks, reaching for the sky.